Welcome to the second English episode of So loop maar die lewe en so. I am very excited about this episode. My name is Pietie Beyers, and I recently approached a Zulu lady called Nana Giyose. She's from KwaZulu-Natal, from Durban. I recently approached her to do a podcast. She works in a corporate environment, and also teaches English and Zulu lessons or isiZulu lessons after hours. And she happens to be my Zulu teacher as well. She's an extremely kind, humorous, powerful, strong, intelligent, brave. She's a phenomenal human being. She really is. And I'm so excited to speak to her. I approached her to delve a bit deeper into her personal life, if I can say it in such a way, and also hear her thoughts on the Black Lives Matter sort of trending headlines right now. Of course, it's not a topic that's just been born now. But it's obviously something that's globally receiving quite a lot of attention. Quite, in my opinion, rightly so. But that's for you to decide. Have a listen to this incredible episode. I think this is one of the most important episodes I've ever been a part of. Perhaps one of the most important conversations of my life. Please welcome Nana Giyose.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Can you see me?
I can see 100%.
Sorry about that. Let's see. Photo frames out the way. Got it.
Can you hear and see me?
I can hear and I can see you.
Okay.
I just had a yes.
No, sorry to interrupt you. Firstly, I just want to say I don't want to think you think I'm not taking this seriously because I'm lying on my side. I'm actually quite prepared. I've got my questions here and everything. It's just I always go and sit in my study, or not my study. I'm sounding very fancy, like just a room that is full of clothes, and we just call it our study sometimes. But I always go sit there, and then I try to do this like podcast or lesson or thing, but my back gets so sore from the chair. And I thought, let me bring this one in. Let me be comfortable. You will know that my spirit will be there, respectful and kind and strong, but just lying like this. Nana, how are you doing in life?
I'm okay in life, hey? We're keeping it moving. Siya panda. We're doing the things. And how are you doing in life? I mean, a little bit frustrated, but we're good. Generally, we're good.
Okay, generally we're good. For the listeners, I'm going to give us now we're going to make us all calm. We're going to get all Zen Buddhist now, joking, but we're going to all be cool now. What I just want to say to start is that Siya panda, for the listeners, Siya panda means we are hustling. So now, just a quick thing. Before I ask you more about your day and everything, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. I know I literally, just for the people listening now, this is not live, just so you know. So whatever you say, I just want you to know that I'm on your side. This is still like, I'm just sitting a bit further away because I speak loud and I don't want and then if I sit here, I must talk softer. Otherwise, I bloody distort my laptop speakers. So don't worry. It's not like I'm sitting here and we're on live TV and I didn't tell you. It's nothing like that. This is a pre-recorded thing. And if we go, we talk about, so I've got a few things I'd love to talk about, and I'll say what my thinking was and just give you some context. And I'm so grateful that you are keen on this, because I just want to say that anything you say, it sounds like anything you say will be held against you in the court of law. No, yeah, exactly. What I mean is anything you or I say that afterwards we feel, ooh, I don't know if I should have said that or whatever. Yeah. I just edit out. So this is our 54th episode in our podcast. The podcast is called, thank you. I haven't given you any details. I just said like, I want to do a podcast with you. Are you keen? And I know you're busy and stuff. And you were just like, yes, it's cool. But I just want to comfort you that we on your side. I want you to come across well, me to come across well. I just think I approached you because you're intelligent, you're kind, you're awesome. You're an awesome person.
Hey,
and we love.
Thank you.
So sorry that I'm speaking so much now. I'm going to let you speak now. I just thought this is actually a good, because I haven't really told you exactly in detail about the podcast. So the podcast is, by the way, called So Loop Hy Maar, Die Lewe en So. And that means, and you know what it means?
No idea what it means, but it's deep. I can just, it's like Zulu. The longer it is, the deeper it is.
Well, I like that. Well, that is very funny because so it's I can tell we're gonna have fun. So it is deep, but the funny thing about it is it's deep, but it's also very, very, very shallow. So
Yes.
So what I mean with that is what it translates to is and so things go, life and so on, or life, etc. But the thing is, so it sounds very like, and so things go, life and so on. But the thing that was funny to me, my friend came up with it's actually my podcast partner who does this with me. He said, we toyed with the name, but we sort of said that should be the name, because I was just laughing because it's like, so things go, it's like that, whatever.
Yeah.
But the funny part for me is die Lewe en So, which means life and so on. Because I was like, what does the so on mean? I mean, there's life and so on. Like, what else is there? Like, you've got life, and then what other things are there than life? So I've always thought, so it is deep. You're right. It is deep without trying
to. Very deep, yeah.
Okay, now you know I'm on your side, and you can relax, and you can just be lacking. If you want to take a sip of water, you take a sip of water. It's very chill. Now you can breathe, and now I'm going to keep quiet. You just say, how was your day? You just breathe a bit. Yeah.
Okay, so my day, the direct part of it, because I'm Zulu, it was literally just waking up, struggling with that, getting to work, dealing with the nonsense. And then at 4:00, I was like, I just need to go home. Lord Father Jesus, thank you. Got in the car, dropped my buddy off that I gave a lift, got home, and I was just like, yes, like I can breathe now. I feel like a lot of my days, I actually can't breathe. Like, because there's so much. Like, there's so much going on, and there's like so much to do. And half the time you're actually panicking. And this is probably not just, like, I'm not just alone, but I feel like a lot of people, we are literally just surviving day to day. So regardless of the fact that perhaps you're making 50 million a day, or let's say 500 Rand a day, literally, it's like we owe, how do I put this? You know how like oxygen is free?
Yes.
But it's not, because life is not free. So it's kind of like, you actually, like, you can't afford, you can afford to be alive, but you can't afford to live.
I understand. Wow, that's deep. Now that's next level. Yeah.
So it's kind of that thing where it's like, just being alive is not good enough. There's stuff that needs to happen, because you are already in debt. The fact that you're alive, you're already in debt. You need to eat. How are you going to eat?
That's true. People always say the best things in life are free, but you can't live on oxygen alone.
You can't. You really can't.
And Nana, just for the listeners also, I know you said, Lord Jesus, God, please. I want to say you definitely didn't mean that in a blasphemous way. You're religious, right?
I'm very religious. It's actually quite shocking. But I'm not like your religious, like, stuck in my ways type of person. So a lot of people, okay, so religion is very confusing for a lot of people, I find. And people are always like, oh, but I want to be spiritual. I don't want to be religious. And I'm kind of like, the whole purpose of religion is to help your spirituality. So, because religion is literally just rules and regulations to channel you so that your spiritual life is actually good.
Yeah.
Because how do you know that you're spiritually good if you don't conform to something? So it's like you're educated because you read books, somebody passes information onto you, right? And then you become, let's say, educated. I won't say intelligent, I'll say educated. Same thing with religion. Unless there's kind of like a structure or a format that you kind of live by, then I'm kind of like, but you're spiritual. So what is spirituality? How can you tell that you are spiritual? Like who is testing those ideas? Because we're not living in isolation. So I actually am very religious, but I'm like an open religious type of person.
Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool and interesting. And I'm gonna touch on what the things is I'd love to explore in this chat and this podcast or whatever. So we've been talking to people from all walks of life, doing so many different things, like lots of different people. Do you, by the way, know the show Scandal?
I've heard of it. But
the ETV one, the one on ETV, Scandal.
Yes, I've heard of it. I might have seen an episode or two, but like back in the day.
Okay.
I'm like, but in Scandal's defense, it's not Scandal that's the problem. I'm the problem. I actually can't watch a lot of TV because I can kind of see where this is going. So I get very bored. So I'm more of like a documentaries type of person.
Speaking of documentaries, and I actually want to say something. We got really deep really quickly with the religion. I actually want to say something about the religion quickly. I think the pity is, and the nice thing about this podcast is it's not like this podcast doesn't have a line. I've got a few things I'd love to chat about. You're welcome to introduce anything. Obviously, I approached you, so there's a few things that I would like to raise. We can just flow, but there's not like, if suddenly a fruit bat flies past my face, we can talk about what we think about fruit bats for 2 hours, and then that can be the end of the podcast. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Yes, it's not like a job interview.
No, exactly. There's no right or wrong answers. In fact, there are only right answers. Even the wrong answers are right on this podcast. So, by the way, okay, so I've got so many things to say. And the one thing I just wanted to say about religion very quickly is I think the pity is that sometimes if the channel, if religion is used, as you say, which I completely understand, as a channel to channel you towards spirituality, and I'm quite a spiritual person, and I was brought up relatively religiously. I think it's sad sometimes that people almost get put off by the details of religion rather than because it's all about the essence of the spirit. That's where so I think people get we get put off on the highway when actually it's the freaking ocean we want to be in. I don't know, that was a very clumsy metaphor.
But I get what you're saying 100%, and I know why that happens. And like, without like getting too much into like my religious part, or like exposing who they are. So so I'm Christian, but the denomination that I'm in is seen to be like very, very, very like rigid, structured, and like there's no like grayscale type of. It's either black or it's white. I think that's what puts people off. Once you start doing things like that, where you're like, it's either you are a man or a woman. It's either, and because of that, you wear a skirt or you wear pants. And because of that, you must do this and you must do that. And that's why I think people get put off, because there are just too many restrictions. Like religion is not for God. Religion is actually not for the priest. Religion is for the layman. So you and I, it's to help us get to where we need to go. So you and I, might, even if we were twins, we have different needs. We need different things to get us where we need to go. But I think that's where religion has failed. They've stopped basically accommodating the person that religion is actually there for. And they're just stuck in their ways and what they deem is right. And that is actually wrong. So that's why, and strangely enough, I have a lot of, like, I've met a lot of people that are atheists, and I 100% get where they are coming from, because the way in which religion was presented to them was not favorable. Is that the word? For their situation. So it's like, you cannot give me a cup of coffee with salt. You have to give me a cup of coffee with sugar. So you can't just give me all these restrictions and there's no good, and it doesn't serve me. So it's supposed to serve you as the person also. You can't just be sacrificing the whole time.
Exactly. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. And for so people who are listening to this now, there might be Christians listening to this, there might be atheists, agnostics. By the way, you use the word denomination, which I'm going to have to go Google. That's next level. That's level 7.5 English. Does that? I suppose that just means like that specific sort of congregational structure, or
Yes, 100%.
So for them, I can see you like almost in a namaste way. Like you are my Zulu tutor. I'm so grateful to have such an amazing Zulu tutor. Even Anneke and I were talking the other day, and we were like, "Oh, Nana's such a beautiful person," And yeah, really. Anneke was just like, and I'm think she's also looking forward to taking up Zulu lessons with you with Fluent Tala. But that's another promotion. That's for now. But I can see your humanity, and there's a beautiful sentence, and we're going to get some nice structure for this podcast now. I just want to say there's a beautiful saying in Zulu. That obviously you'll know definitely better than I. But how would you translate into English the words unomusa?
Unomusa. So unomusa it's kind of like you have a kind heart.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily kind heart, because you need to see. So it's like action behind it. So you are friendly, you are kind, you are gentle. It's like you're favorable. So you're pleasing. It's that type of thing. So unomusa is like you're pleasing. It's a very nice
thing to say.
I like that word.
I like it a lot. I spoke to two people explained it to me once, and I think only one of them was Zulu. Perhaps neither of them was Zulu. And the one person said, it's like the word umusa is almost like kindness, but they said it's more. They couldn't exactly get the word for it, like generous, tenderness, merciful, like good. And then the other person said it to me so nice, like you said. That person said, it's like you've got a good heart. Like seeing someone, and I said it to someone last night, and I meant it. I saw someone last night, and I meant it when I said it, and I could see it's like they melted. It was a grown man, and he looked at me and he said he's so proud of me because I'm speaking.
Yes.
It's a very powerful moment. And that actually, what I just wanted to say with the humanity thing is, I can see the kind of person that also favors human beings and humanity. And if there's an atheist out there, you won't be like, oh, you're wrong and you're going to hell. I can see you're a person of mercy and love.
No.
You're like, I get y'all. Yibu.
Thanks,
Yibu. Like hopefully Big G understands all of us,
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so what I'd love to get to, and I'm just going to sort of talk about it quickly, and we can go as topical, deep, personal, non-personal, whatever you're comfortable with. I enjoy a deep dive into the ocean, but I also like people feeling comfortable. It's the same as our Zulu lessons. We like to laugh, we like to talk real, but it's I think we both want to go with a ngino na angi futi uno musa kind of vibe, right?
100%.
So I approached you for the podcast because, well, the firstly, we speak to
Yes.
people that we find interesting, and then that they don't have to be famous or unfamous or do this or that or whatever. But the fact of me learning Zulu has been a very, very, very powerful and amazing and enriching thing for me, you know?
Thank
And
you.
not just on a language level, but also on a human level, because obviously I think race is something that is I don't even know where to begin. And the thing is why I'd like to do the podcast is because well, firstly, let's start at
Yes.
ground zero, because what I
Yes.
think is lots of people who this is going to listen to this might be white people. I've spoken to colored, black, different people, white, but might be white people just because I come from a predominantly white school, university, blah 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 blah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
let's
Sorry.
start from ground zero. I think so many of us, I can't say all of them, and that's something very important I want to say is that
Yes.
I know I'm not speaking on behalf of all white people, and you don't have to feel like you're speaking on behalf of all black people or all Zulu people. I'm speaking to Nana Giyose, and
Yeah.
we're talking like we see it. So I want to just comfort you in that we're speaking as individuals. We're not representing an entire universe or whatever. But I'm
Thank
very
you.
yes, but I'm very curious because the thing is, I know lots of my friends. Sometimes we want to be like, I want to have black and colored and white friends and I'd love it. Yes, I've been very lucky and fortunate, and I'll face it, I am grateful to have had
Yes.
an upbringing where I was privileged. You know,
Yes.
I'm very grateful for that. And at the same time, I would love it to be more equal in the future, right? With the
Yes.
way the past was, that would be awesome if we can move to a more fair direction.
Society. Yeah.
So so so, and I really am going to I just think it's important for me to say these things to really put out the context. I think as a start,
Yes.
people who strive towards, call it equality, call it fairness, call it level playing field, call it just respecting each other as human beings, whatever. What do you think we should, just as a start, this is literally now taking baby steps, because I think there's so many people who talk and they feel like they should have an opinion, but actually they wonder about such fundamental things. Like, for instance, do I call a black person an African person? Do I call them a black person? Do I call a white person a white? Do I call them a boo? Do I call them Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be on the
Yes.
respectful side.
Yes.
What do you feel
Yes.
comfortable with? And let's start at ground zero and take it wherever you want to. I'm listening.
That is actually very interesting, and I've had discussions about this. Okay, so usually what I find is, if we get wrapped up in trying to be politically correct, that's where the problems are, because you're trying to be so sensitive towards the other person's feelings all the time that you actually end up messing up. So, for instance, where I work with obviously a diverse group of people. And
just so the listener knows, you in Durban.
yes,
You're in KwaZulu Natal.
I'm in Durban, KwaZulu Natal, and I'm currently in the corporate industry. So corporate also deals with a lot of political correctness. And in my mind, when somebody says I'm an African, it doesn't make me feel comfortable. And the only reason why I say that is because, to me, Africa is geographical.
Exactly.
So if you say I'm an African, you need to be saying that because you're not from Africa.
Exactly.
If you're born in Africa, you are an African, right?
We both African then.
We're both Africans. Then we move on to the black and the white thing. So if you call me black, I don't necessarily feel insulted, but I feel like you are inaccurate. And I say this because, so from a very young age, so my mom is, I want to say teacher, but my mom, she's like an educational specialist type of person. So she deals with like your kids with autism and learning disabilities and stuff. And the way that she raised me, she kind of just said, like, they're tribes, they're different tribes, and people look like they're family members. So to me, black just refers to the skin tone, and I get it. So if you're not African or South African, and if you say Nana is black, I'm like, okay, yes, you are accurate, because obviously your knowledge is at surface area. But if I'm dealing with you, you are South African, and you know that we have 11 different national languages. So for me, I am a Zulu. That's it. Because there are, let's say, about 7 other different black types, if I can put it that way. So I will never be like a Sutu person, because Sutu people have their own way of life. They have their own words, they have their own language, they have their own names that they name their children. It's different. I'm not Xhosa, I'm not Afrikaans, I'm not English. So for me personally, and a lot of the people that I've come like I've associated with, it's more about the tribe and not so much on the skin color, if that makes sense.
That makes so much sense. You've already taken the intellectual level of this conversation to a new level, and I'm so thrilled and excited. Please keep on going. I've got so many things to talk about.
So for me, like, I can't understand you as a person unless I get that you are Afrikaans. Because Afrikaans people and English people are not the same, like, at all. Yes, the skin tone is the same, but the way of life is not the same. The values is not the same. And not to say that the one is wrong or better than the other, but there's just an Afrikaans person is an Afrikaans person. And I can't just be like, oh, Upiti umlungu, Piti is white. Because the thing is, I can meet a white person from Switzerland. I can meet a white person from America. But you guys are completely different. In fact, you're probably closer to me and your way of life than you are to a white person who's from Europe. So I think the proper way is to say, Nana is Zulu or PT is Afrikaans, this person is Sutu, because that kind of solidifies it, because it's more about the clan than it is the skin tone.
Yes, I do understand.
Yes.
And feel free. I don't want to say feel free to offend, because I know you're a kind person. I know you don't want to offend, but what I'm saying is feel free to be honest. That's what I mean. And I want to tell you that you are well. I think you know me well enough through our chats now that you can probably realize that I don't seem like a very racist person. But having said that, even though I think I'm not racist at all, having said that, we are all products to a certain extent of how we've been brought up, or we've got certain beliefs, or sometimes we don't even know we need to unlearn something. So I'm also open, right?
That is true. That is true.
So I'm also open. So please correct me if you feel I'm saying something that's, whatever, feel free. My thing is now that, and it's almost like maybe we're paving the way for the future here in this podcast. I think because I've never actually, obviously I've known there's different tribes, right? I'm lucky enough, we're not lucky enough. We should probably all know this, but I mean, I know this, and the more I've been learning Zulu, the more I know, or the more I learn. But now the thing for me is, so if you are, and I'm just talking because I am an Afrikaans person, where someone wants to say a white person, Afrikaans person, whatever. If an Afrikaans person were to meet a Zulu person, and somebody would ask them about the person, whatever, do you think we're going to move into a world, or do you think we should be in a world, this is a very, maybe a philosophical question, where
Yes.
if the person asks, oh, how is she, or where are they from, or something, I don't think the first thing people often say is they're white, black, or colored. But I think sometimes you've got to fall in your race or whatever in a form. I mean, it does come up. And even if it's
Yeah.
not it does come up. Even if it's not in a racially, even if it comes from someone that believes in a sort of a fair kind, or has a humane outlook,
Yes.
would you it would a Afrikaans person, if they say, oh, it was a very kind lady, oh, she's a, and if he doesn't know she's maybe Ndebele, or he is maybe Venda, if to say then it's a black lady or whatever, is that offensive? And do you think we should become more educated? And maybe that is the answer, because there's 11 languages. It's also, and in parentheses, white people, Afrikaans, English, whatever,
Yes.
people, it's also their job, not job, but duty in a way, as South Africans, to start knowing, to ask someone, if they used to just think, oh, this is a black person, oh, are you Zulu, are you Tswana, and then that person might tell them, and then they'll know.
100%. And I'll tell you why. So we get very like complacent in our ways. Like for instance, at work. So different people. Firstly, the CEO of the company I work for is Greek. The general manager is Zimbabwean. Then I have someone else that works in there that's Afrikaans. Now, when I refer, and I only realized this after someone else made note of it. So when I refer to the CEO, because he's Greek, so Greek people are very loud. Greek people are like Zulu people, but like amplified. So someone was like,
I know you, by the way, like your boss, so you mean it in a positive way.
yes, in a positive way.
For all our billions of Greek listeners, yes.
Yes. So someone was always like, oh, but he's always shouting. And I was like, no, he's Greek. And like, they wouldn't get it. And it was like, oh, no, but Gers is white, but he doesn't do that. Or Grant is white, but he doesn't do that. I'm like, he's Greek. Like, you missed what I said. He is Greek. And then they were like, oh, okay. So is that how like you see him? I'm like, that's not how I see him. That's how I receive him. He is Greek. So unless I'm aware of what you are, I actually can't make sense of your behavior. Like I actually I need to know. If you are Afrikaans, I kind of already know what I'm getting. Not in the sense that like I'm generalizing all Afrikaans people or all Greek people or all Zulu people, but because they come from different ways of living, they have different mannerisms, they have different ways of verbalizing how they feel, what they mean. So just because he's loud, somebody might interpret that as he's shouting, but he's not. He's just passionate, he wants you to feel him, but that's all he knows. So that's what he does.
No.
So it's that type of thing. So if I, as a Zulu black person, can do that, where I look at you and I'm like, you are Afrikaans, because actually the color of your skin actually doesn't mean much. Because if I took you and I put you with Zulu people from birth, you would be Zulu, to be honest. You would, because that's the way of life you would be accustomed to. So I feel like even with other racial groups, so your white person, your Indian person, your colored person, instead of just seeing black, I think we just need to learn more about the other person and figure out that the reason why that one's behaving that way is because they're Sutu, is because they're Zulu. Because I can do it, and I was doing it, I didn't even know I was doing it. But actually, it's not really me, it's my mom, because that's what she did. That type of thing.
That is amazing.
So we need to learn.
No,
we just need to learn.
We need to learn. We need Lana, that is, I didn't think we were going to go onto this level so quickly. You are, so it's almost like, there's this whole thing about like, and once again, if I step on someone's toes, I promise you, I'm trying to come from a place of respect here. Then it's my ignorance, admitted ignorance and clumsiness of language.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be respectful here. Um, there's that thing about like, I think like transgender people people like want to be, and I'm not comparing them to you'll get my point now.
Yes. Yeah.
Would like to be referred to as they, or some people that it's almost like there's this, but just hear out my point. It's like for a moment I was like, yeah, so we're moving in this time of radical identification, but then I was like, no. It's not radical identification to call someone Greek. Why would it be radical identification to differentiate between Zulu and Sotho? You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's not. It makes sense. It literally makes sense. Because
So,
that's what it is.
so,
Yeah.
so now, and I still haven't come to my first question because this has intrigued me so much. So, because I want to have heart now. I want to have heart as in compassion. I want to have, because by the way, I'm very curious to know about how you receive Afrikaners, because I also have and you can elaborate on that. You can or not, just as you please. But the thing is like, the thing I'm starting to realize, and there are racist white Afrikaners. There are racist English white people. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are racist, perhaps racist Zulu and Sotho people against white people. I'm not saying there isn't. What I am saying is, I think sometimes because, as you say, we try and be so PC, the new-minded liberals. Like I was speaking to this guy once, and he said, Aubrey Masango on 702, he once said that political correctness to him is patronizing because he's too smart for that. He feels like if someone says, yeah, but you're African, he's like, don't try and be clever don't try and save me because you think I don't get it, and try and save me with your kindness. Then, he said, rather than say black, than try to say like, oh, I met a very kind black lady. Then they'll know like, oh, this is just the way you see it. It's not like you're not trying to be rude. Rather than trying to be too like, oh, this, you know what I mean? So I think sometimes people, like including myself, we come from a place, our departure point is actually a place of clumsiness and unknowingness and wanting to be right, but then wanting to be kind. So what I'm saying is, would you be able to forgive an Afrikaans or white English person for saying a black lady or for a black man or colored man or mixed race? How do you feel about that word?
I mean, I've heard it before a lot of times. I hear it quite a lot every day. So it doesn't offend me, but obviously I perceive it as ignorance. And then depending on our relationship, I will correct you. I'm that girl, that annoying girl that will correct you.
That's awesome. But that's why you make a difference. And I'm not saying I don't, and I'm not saying other people don't, but you do, because I think it's empower, and that's also why I approached you for this podcast. And I do want to get, okay, I'm so glad we got some basics, fundamentals down, because I think we both understand now what the departure point is. So things that I would like to touch on, and things that, obviously I'd like to get to Black Lives Matter, but that is such a global USA thing. But I'd love to hear your opinion about it. As I said, you can't speak for all Zulu people, let alone all Black people. We've realized, you know what I mean? We just talked about that.
It's too broad. It's too broad.
Too broad, exactly. So that's like, for instance, but I want to get that. But first, I would love to get to know you on a more personal level, or where you come from and all that, so that people can also understand where you're coming from. And it's interesting. The other thing is, I didn't just want to approach you because you're Zulu and talk about Black Lives Matter. I've been thinking, wow, you're really interesting. I find the learning of Zulu so enriching. I do enjoy speaking to people of all walks of life, and I think you've got a very powerful and necessary voice. That's my feeling. So, by the way, Do you know of
Yes.
the documentary you were speaking about? And I'm going to get to lots of these things now, but and once again,
Yes.
go into the level you're comfortable with. But do you know of the documentary called The Last Dance?
No, I don't think so. Is it sad?
No, no, it does sound sad. The Last Dance. It sounds very final. No, so this is one of those ignorant things that Afrikaans or English white people, and I'm saying white people now also, you know what I mean with Afrikaans and English,
Yes.
African,
Yes. Yes, I get it. I get it.
would say. But this is a typical example. Like, you know, there was a basketball player called Michael Jordan.
Yes.
So there's this documentary on Netflix called The Last Dance, and it's about the Chicago Bulls and Michael
Ooh,
Jordan.
yes.
I just finished it today, Nana. It is
Is it mind blowing?
it's amazing.
Oh,
But
I need to see it.
it is amazing. So it is I found it very compelling and powerful. And it's very, very interesting. For lots of different they even have Barack Obama speaking on the documentary. They've got people from all over speaking on the documentary.
Oh, I
And
think I need to see this.
yes, and it's so layered. It's so layered. But I mean, race is actually not a big thing they explore in it. They focus on sport and the phenomenal sportsman that he was. The race thing and the thing that he did so much for, I think I think often, correct me if I'm wrong, but in America, people would like someone like Michael Jordan would be like to refer to as an African American. I think that's the right term. Am I right? Do you think?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
So so just what what I wrote here is you don't it's such a okay. Leading in, here's my question, and this is I was actually not my
Yes.
first question, and I think the only reason there's a guy on 702 radio I listen to often, Eusebius McKaiser.
Never heard of it, but continue, please.
Okay. So Eusebius, his and I like I might be paraphrasing, but I think his way, he's often said um, that he thinks that I think this he might like for me now. I must see exactly where he comes from and everything, but I just listen to him often. I want to say, oh my gosh, might have to edit this out. I think he's a colored man. Now he's like, now I'm like, if I don't get the tribe inside or the whatever, but anyways,
Yes.
he's a very free, open-minded thinker, and he's very intelligent. And I've never been to, maybe I should, but I haven't focused in on what his exact the race or tribe or thing is. I've just listened to his voice and found him very educational. So Eusebius says we need to talk about race explicitly to be able to own what has been, where we are, and where we're going. He says, the way I understand it is, he says, if we don't accept and say, if we like, yeah, but no, we're all, if we kind of like comb it all over as if everything's fine, everything's okay, he's like, that's not how we're going to get there. And I'm not contradicting what you said because I agree.
He's right.
Because I agree with the Zulu thing, but then we've got to be detailed, Zulu, Sutu, whatever, because only with radical honesty there will be ownership. Otherwise, whether it's the Afrikaans freaking right-minded person or level, so do you agree with that?
I actually do. And strangely enough, so I had this conversation with my nephew. There's nothing that upsets me more than somebody that acts like I'm not black.
Yes.
And I'll say the black in inverted commas. So, you like don't act like I'm not black. And it's not necessarily the fact that I'm black, that because obviously the blackness is kind of just like an umbrella, and there are other things like your tribe and this and that and that. But how can you accept me as a person if you are lying and you are in denial. Like, I have really good vision. Like, I can see. Like, I'm not colorblind. I'm not sure. Like, like, I have good vision. Like, I can see that you are a white male. Like, I can see that you're white. Having said that, that is not an issue for me. So once you start saying things like, oh no, but I don't see color, but like the people that use that term, because obviously that's just a phrase and it obviously stands for something. Like, if you say I don't see color, it doesn't necessarily mean that you literally don't see color. It means that obviously when you're judging things or working through stuff, the race is not what you're thinking about. But there are other people that will literally say, but I don't see race. And they literally mean it as like they don't see race. And I'm like, well, there's a problem. It's either you need glasses or you are a liar. It's one of those.
Or I've got a third option. Or
Yes,
you're scared to sound like a racist.
that is also true. But then in my mind, this is how I feel. If you're not racist, why are you scared to say something?
Because this is a very, very good point. Because you're aware of all the people that have tarnished and messed up the relationship between, which never should have been a divide between races. So you feel, sense for me, I often feel, I've said the words, I almost don't see race anymore, but I think I meant it more like the first way you said it. Like, I'm like,
Yes.
I look for the human being. I don't really care too much. Not that I don't respect it. It's just like I see the person,
Yeah,
But,
that's very fair. Yeah.
but I think those people are overcompensating, and I've probably done it as well. Overcompensating and taking over accountability for the fact that they know that their inverted commas race have been such assholes or have judged so unfairly or have been I think there's a sense of embarrassment and shame. And the problem is that for me, that I felt in my life, is that the shame is wants to be directed. I'm not saying in all cases, but sometimes the shame sometimes wants to be catered for and made into something better. But actually the people need to understand that the bravery asks for honesty.
Yes,
Not
it does.
bravery asks for honesty, not for denial, because people see through that. Sorry, I took a long
Yes.
while to understand that, but I just need to figure it out exactly.
Yes. 100%. Yeah. 100%. So I do agree with him. Like, you have to acknowledge it, you have to own it, and then it really shouldn't be a problem.
Yes.
Yes. 100%.
And then it's like, it's human being. It's the human being. Awesome.
It's just a human being. Yes.
And
100%.
I agree. So that's why. So I think that is Eusebius and our thing is great for. That should be the departure point. We can be honest, and then we move forward. Then we don't have to.
Yeah.
And that's so cool, because then it's like, then we don't have to go like, yeah, but you. No. Then it's like, okay, we got that. We're human beings. Cool. Where are we going? What are we doing? What are we talking
Yes.
about? Panda. We hustling. Okay.
Yeah.
So, for instance, but obviously, I think in the same like sort of frame of mind, I don't want to throw the idea of race away in this conversation now, because I think it's still, for some people, such an elephant in the room. For some people, in a way that they still maybe don't feel like they can connect towards the idea that we're all human beings and we all bleed red and we all should be whatever. And for other people, I think it's important to keep on just referring to it every now and again, because they might get used to the fact of, oh, wow, we just heard this idea. Even if it's just a few people that might be hearing these words now, they might get used to the idea of like, oh, being honest is better than overcompensating with niceness.
100%. But also, you need to be careful who you're honest with. So obviously, like, I would never go to like a racist neighborhood and try to understand anything, or I would never ask a stranger. So you can be honest, but having said that, just be careful of where you are being honest. Like, speak to people that you have a relationship with, or a person that you can see isn't so caught up in it, because you don't want to be caught in the wrong situation, and perhaps the person you're trying to get information from now perceives you to be racist, but what you're actually trying to do is just get more information. So get information, but just be careful where you're doing that, because I've seen that
it can
like go wrong.
And maybe it's necessary to say, also to add that we talk about honesty, but that doesn't mean a lack of respect. That means honesty with respect. You know, there's a way to ask something. I know, not that I'm saying I'm the king of respect or honesty at all, but I know I've spoken to relative strangers, but then I'd say, like, I don't know what the right word is. It's an African guy, or I'm not sure if it's a Zulu or a Xhosa guy. And then I could see the person would have empathy for the fact that they can see I'm trying and I'm not really sure, but I mean it respectfully. So people know when you're honest with respect. So I think that goes with it. Okay, so Nana, we're going to come back to this whole topic just now. I just want to quickly dive into Nana Giyose. Can you please tell me your full name and what it means, please? That would be awesome. Because for those Afrikaans people or English people or whoever, most Zulu names, or is it all Zulu names, or is it all, here we go with my whatever, African freaking, no, I'm joking. Most South African, all 11 languages, do you think all the names, except for Afrikaans and English names, actually mean something?
Yes, they do. They definitely do. So every name is basically either an explanation of the situation in which the child is born in, or the environment, or sometimes it's a name that is passed down, but it means something, because originally it comes from somebody saying something about the birth of that particular person. So having said that, I have a very, very tribal name. I have been blessed. So my full name is Nontotuko Pilile Nobile Giyose. So Nontotuko Pilile Nobile, those are my names. I know they are very long and they are 3. I do have another one, but didn't make it to the ID or the birth certificate. And then Giyose is my surname. So usually the way that I was taught was that, so if my name, so my name is Nontotugo. It's actually a unisex name. So it is Ntotugo, which means progress, progress in the future, or success, right? But when you add that no, now you know that it refers to a female. So it's like queen of progress and success in the future.
That is so fitting to you. But
Thank you. And then Pilile is like the one that lived. But it's kind of not just like the literal meaning of lived. It's like everything good you can associate with living. I can't explain exactly, but Pilile, it's the one that lived. Like I can't really.
Yes.
So it's like that Musa situation.
Yes. So Zulu, correct me if I'm wrong, I want you to keep your momentum going. I just quickly want to add, Zulu, in my understanding, and that's why I love it, and that's why I love you. That's why Zulu has become such a beautiful, I don't want to call it a vehicle, but currency, but thing for me to connect with more people directly because it's such a warm, rich language. It's almost metaphorical. It's in a sense, somebody's told me it's very literal, but it's literal, but
Yeah.
because it's literal, it's like very loaded, if I'm right. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Accurate.
It's so,
100%.
so like in yoga, after the session, they'll say namaste, which means I see your spirit. And Zulu is
Yeah.
almost, I think that's the translation of namaste. So, and Zulu, that thing about like sawubona, meaning I see you.
I see
Then
you.
if you say unjani and you say ngikona, it means, correct me if I'm wrong, and wena unjani, nam ngikona is like, I see you. How are you?
Yes.
I'm here. And you, I'm also here. It's so,
Yes.
it is absolutely beautiful to me. It's so pure.
Yes. And like some people will say ngiyapila, which is like I am alive. And it's kind of like I'm alive, that's good enough. I can still achieve more things, I can accomplish stuff. It's very, very simple and basic, but like a lot is at the background
Spiritual.
of it.
It's a spiritual language.
It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. And then, yes, then the last one is Nobile, basically the conqueror. So, yes.
All those names. And Giyose, do surnames mean something?
Yeah. Surnames, usually they do. So usually Zulu surnames do mean something. Like you'll get your Ndlovu, which is elephant.
Yes.
My mom's surname is Bengu, which actually is an abbreviation for Ugupenguga. So it's kind of the ones that, like the ones that flowed away from their roots. But so my surname is not Zulu. My surname, I think, is isiXhosa.
Yeah, boy.
My father's surname. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of information on it.
Okay,
but I know that a lot of Zulu names and surnames will have
meaning.
Yeah, they will have meaning. They will mean something, or yeah.
So thank you for sharing so honestly and personally, because I think this podcast is already in itself an education to any Afrikaans person that's listening, because I've already listened. I would count myself as rather, well, definitely open-minded, but beyond that, rather educated for Afrikaans speaker in non-Afrikaans things that are outside Afrikaans, whether it's English speaking in South Africa, whether it's Zulu speaking. I'm definitely open to it, but still for me, I'm learning, So,
100%.
so thank you. And just also for the listeners, I'm going to sometimes say things that are so obvious to you, but I can tell you now, there's someone listening to it, and I'm not knocking any Afrikaans or English or white or black or Zulu, Ndebele, anyone.
Yes.
Here. I'm just talking about individuals as I am, as things that I didn't know. Like, for instance, if people hear people, I think people often like almost, I know I can only speak personally. And I can only say, like, I've often avoided situations or saying certain things because I know it's going to come out clumsy and offensive because I'm trying to be too PC or not PC or this way, whatever. And then it's like, if you can just be honest about it, it's better. Like, oh, I don't know how to say this. What's the best way to say this? Oh, thank you for asking. This is. But, so like, if you put isi, I-S-I, because some people sometimes say, like, yes, do you speak like English? Do you speak Xhosa or whatever? And it's like, oh, should I say isiXhosa or should I say isiXhosa? Or then it's like, oh, I'm not sure. But just to clarify that, am I correct if I say, in English, in English, the word is Xhosa, but in Xhosa or Zulu, the word is isiXhosa or isiZulu. Then you put the isi in front of the language.
100%. So you know how you get Hinduism?
Yes.
So there was something that I didn't understand, where I was trying to refer to the language, but I said it incorrectly, and it was actually referring to the religion, or something like that. So it's like if somebody, so let's say is Muslim and Islam, a person can speak Islam, I think. Okay, so let's say Islam was the language and not the religion. So a person can speak Islam, but they themselves are not Islam.
Yes.
They are Muslim.
Yes.
So it's kind of the same thing. So I feel like with I am Zulu, but I speak isiZulu.
Yes. Yes.
So when someone says, "Do you speak Zulu?" I'm like, I get what you're saying, but Zulu is actually the tribe.
Yes.
I speak isiZulu. I am Zulu. So it's kind of like that.
Nana, the conqueror,
Right.
the future. You're educating us here. Thank you. It's awesome. I'm going to send this. I'm going to tell everyone I know to listen to this. Listen, I want this to become like a freaking educational Bible, because I'm literally speaking here. I'm asking here because I'm also learning. But now I want to challenge you, if you're okay with that. And to not throw all my Afrikaans brethren and sisters under the bus here, because I also believe we all have hearts and bleed red, and whether you are whatever or whoever. So to come up for everyone here, maybe you said like the Islam versus Muslim thing. That's also because you may be not sure. It's not because you think Islam people are bad or whatever. So because I'm sure there are Afrikaans racist people, and there's probably racist people of all kinds of tribes, and So, but as you said that, then that is maybe a similar thing. Like I think sometimes Afrikaans people might say, "Oh, she's a very," and I'm keeping it positive because I know of people that are really trying, to unlearn things they've learned, or to inherit things they've learned. So they'll be like, "Oh, it was like," and then they're almost like scared to say it, like a swart man, or like a black man, or a colored man, or the brown man, and no one really knows. So it's like that Muslim or Islam. It's like I'm not sure which one to go for. I'm trying to do the right thing here, but I know I'm going to mess it up.
It's scary. It's scary. It's very scary. Yeah, it is scary. It is scary.
But so you the person will almost be forgiven for that, right? For that black, for that.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
Because I think there are a lot of, and I'm interested in do you see, maybe amongst acquaintances, people, peers, friends, I don't know, do you think that, because I know from Afrikaans, I'll say Afrikaans, but I think I speak to a large extent for English white people as well. I'm just now a bit afraid of saying white people, because I know that immediately generalizes things across the world, because maybe there's some Greek, Italian, whatever. But so let's keep it, I'll just say Afrikaans for now, but I know there is quite a movement, there is quite a lot of people that are trying to open up their minds and the way they've learned.
Yes.
Is that an encouraging thing for you? Or do you feel like, just on your standpoint, or is it like, oh, whatever? Is it like too little, too late? Or is it like, cool, you're learning? Is it like, oh, but you owe us? Or is it something like, well done? Or what do you feel about it? You're more than welcome to say anything. I know we're going very deep here. They're going to publish this. We can start a race Bible according to the future conqueror, the Zulu future conqueror.
So for me, I'm like, it's good. I see it as a positive, because obviously I can't be like, oh yeah, well, your forefathers shouldn't have been racist to begin with, because guess what? Some were.
Exactly.
And things happen. So I'm like, we are already in a negative situation, and anything, even if it's literally 1 millimeter or 5 centimeters in like the right direction, that is positive. So personally, I find it as a positive. Of course, things shouldn't have happened, but they did. So for me, it's definitely positive. It's definitely positive.
And this is maybe an unfair question. Is it unfair to ask you, do you think, because if you ask me, the people I maybe follow or surround myself with, I think I see quite a big movement towards understanding and acceptance of the racism of the past, potential racism across the board, all over, that still may exist. Something like white
Yes.
privilege, these kind of things, acceptance and ownership of it, and honesty and wanting to move forward, which is very refreshing to me.
Yeah.
Do you think it feels like high time for white people, or not for white people, but maybe for Afrikaans people or English people, whatever, in this country? It feels like it's the right thing now. And if you see it as a positive, I suppose there's more Zulu speaking people that might go, okay, well, people are at least trying.
Yeah, I think so. I actually like it's definitely a positive. And I can't I can't say that I'm probably the only person that sees it that way.
Yes.
I think a lot of people can tell that it's a move in the right direction, as slow as it may be, or as small, tiny,
Yes.
probably unnecessary because we shouldn't be in this predicament.
Yes.
But nonetheless, it is positive and we are moving in the right direction.
What a
It's just
bugger up.
how we're. Woo,
What a bugger up. Why did they do this? With small decisions, the forefathers, they screwed it up. Huh?
these people, I don't know. And you know what? This is what my mother always says. She's like, it's always that one idiot that came up with the idea. And then the rest are just like, okay. Literally, you probably find that it was literally like a small group of the people that decided this. And then somehow 80% of everybody found themselves in this situation. And it was either you're privileged or you're not. And what are you gonna do? It's just one of those things. It's like I'm stuck in a government that operates this way. So you'll have your boycotts, you'll do your things, but ultimately, I don't think it was everybody that decided as a collective. It was those ones, that few. It's like Hitler.
Yeah.
Like I actually, I'm so sorry, Germany. I don't think that all Germans were. Is it called racist? Like I don't know what to call it.
Yes,
What happened with Hitler?
I think, what's the word? Well, anti-Semitic, but like racist. Yeah, yeah, but I understand what you're saying. Like
Yeah,
anti-Jewish, yes.
exactly. So it was probably that small group of idiots that decided upon this thing,
You're right.
and then kind of they were just like laws, and like the next thing people are like, oh, so this is our new life. And it's kind of like, as a normal citizen, whether you are part of the haves or the have-nots, like what are you gonna do really? Like what? You know what I mean? Like the government has decided. Yes, you may think it's wrong, but it's the ruling of it, like it's the law of the land. So
Exactly.
like what are you gonna do?
You're so right, because I think that's a very good example, the little that I know. But like, I know in Germany, for instance, as I understand, there were so many Germans that were actually not didn't want to go with that regime, but because of
Yeah,
the pressure, like, it's kind of like, well, you in or you might die, and your family might.
exactly.
So I think and there's like, for instance, like apartheid. There were obviously activists here and there, anti-apartheid activists, like here and there, white person, and then there were like very prominent figures. Now I want to say it like I wanted to say black figures, but I don't know if Steve Biko was Zulu, or that's my problem. You see, that's where I'm also.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I also was he Zulu?
But but
Xhosa? It's
but
Xhosa.
oh,
Xhosa.
it was closer. So
Yeah,
so I also don't want people to, if you're an Afrikaans listener, rather say a black person than
yeah,
try and be PC. Then rather say that and say like, oh, it's a black person. He was very,
yeah,
keep it positive, and because that's a,
yeah.
you know what I mean. So we'd rather
Yes.
call it honesty. Um, but like, for instance, I know my father's father, right? He's a doctor, he's an Afrikaans man. And I know they've got the story where like some of his friends were driving on this, like on this piece of sand or beach somewhere, or they were like with a bucky or something on this, and they saw in the front there was a beach, but it was somewhere like on the east coast. I'm not sure where exactly, and they saw there was a 4x4, a bucky that was parked on the sand, and there was a guy standing there doing something, and they parked there, and they saw, what was this guy doing? And it was my father. And this is not to like hero worship him or say he's a great man, but this is to say that he was what they looked at, and then they saw what he's doing, and he was sawing off. He stopped there, and he was sawing off a board that said whites only on a beach. And so
Oh,
he took his saw, and he was like, he didn't care if his friends see him or anyone. He was doing this thing. But even so this is his maybe small, he's knowing. He was I think, a very kind, gracious, righteous man. But that still doesn't mean he's going to hold a revolver up to freaking Eugene Ter Blanche, Hendrik Verwoerd. I don't know even who
yeah. Yes.
he was still like, oh shit, like my family needs to survive. I'll go do my work. Okay, fuck. I'm not necessarily saying white people are right, but I'm kind of going with this. And now we are all freaking sitting with all this shit.
Yeah, of course, standard behavior, because that's how the cookie crumbles.
It's like in the Bible, they say that you're going to inherit what the ancestors or the fathers did.
It's so sad, but that is so true. And it's kind of like there are also like different levels of how do I put this? Like there are different levels of victories, you know? So someone else might like house people who are seen as like wrong, and that's literally risking their lives. But somebody might saw off the whites only, board. So everybody did have their part to play. And it's not to say that even though that one, obviously because we're human beings and we work on scales, someone else might see that as small, but we actually don't know after he had done that. Maybe there were other people of color or other Black people who went there and actually could enjoy some quiet time on the beach.
Yes.
Maybe it changed somebody's life. So, you know what I mean? So it might seem minute, but it probably isn't, because we don't know what happened after.
And you're right. Things have a ripple effect, because here I am, two generations later, telling you the story, right? So, so it does have a ripple effect, because let's say my father heard that story, whether he was brought up as a very inclusive person or not, that probably impacted his understanding of being a human being, which isn't,
Yes.
so it does, you're right.
It does something.
Thing
It does something.
It does something. So okay. So to just let the race thing rest there for a while, because I didn't want to. You must have a sip of water or something, because I talk so much, my mouth gets so dry. I don't even know what's going on. But anyways, no, you're a very impressive individual. I just want to focus on other things as well, because I wasn't planning. This is just so fascinating to me. I wasn't planning on just making this a race Zulu expose about like what Nana thinks about the universe. I actually also want to get to, but I do want to come visit that again just now in a different way.
Yes.
You are a phenomenally intelligent, awesome individual that I've met, that is a teacher of Zulu and also English. But you also have a day job, and you also teach Zulu on top of that, and English. Am I right?
Yes, you are correct. You are correct.
Do they make you happy?
Day job, not so much. Teaching, very much. To be honest, I didn't always, how do I put this? Like So, you know, when you're a child and you have to write stuff down about like what you want with your life, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Obviously, those are all innocent thoughts. And at that point, you are not aware of life. You're not aware of your surroundings. You don't know that they're like to start. Like if I, for instance, said I want to be a doctor, when I'm saying that, I'm literally just looking at the profession from a pure point of view that I want to help people.
Yes.
But then when I get to grade 10, I realize I need to do like pure maths.
Yeah.
I need to do physics, maybe chemistry or whatever it is. That's my first obstacle. Second obstacle, let's say I like my IQ allows for me to do all of these subjects. I'm done with matric. I actually need funds to do that. So when I was younger, I was like, I am going to be a singer. Life is great. I'm going to play my musical instruments and everything's going to be awesome. Then I think I realized in primary school that, hey man, this was not going to happen unless I went to a really good school. So the school that I went to initially, primary school, was literally like, it's like a school that's like a 5-minute walk from my house. But it's kind of middle income, but it's what you would call an Indian school. So you know how in black townships you get your black schools, and then so what I live in a suburb, but parts of it used to be like an old Indian township. So that's the school
this is in Durban, right?
This is in Durban.
Yes.
Just outside of Durban, in Durbanville. And I realized that unless I prepared, that was not going to happen for me. Because obviously you also look around and you're like, okay, so that person is that person's that. I'd never met a musician. I'd never met a singer. Like I'd just seen them on TV. So eventually my mom transferred me from that school in grade 6 to another school, which is in a place called Hilton, which is in the Midlands in Maritzburg.
Yeah, Hilton is like
upper income. So I moved to that school because she could obviously afford to pay for it, but they had no boarding facilities. So I'm going to a school with kids whose parents are like quite wealthy. And then at night, I'm literally living in, it's like what you'd call iskomplazi, which is, it's like rural.
Yeah.
So it's like a developing rural area. So it's kind of very townshipy.
Yeah.
But it's low income. So I'd go to school there, and then I have to go to like the township in the night, basically, because that's where I lived, and that's where I was staying with one of my mom's friends. Woo! They're another story. But then I realized also looking around, so that environment of the school, like I realized, like a lot of these people here have 2 parents. A lot of these people here like carry lunch to school. A lot of these people like take extra lessons if they're struggling. A lot of these people do sport, they've got like extracurricular activities. And I was like, okay, so seeing as I'm in grade 6, which school would be best suited for what I actually want to do? And there's a school, a high school called St. Anne's, it's literally like a 1-minute drive from Ladsworth, which was the primary school. And then that's the school I wanted to go to. But now we're talking millionaires here, like the parents, and like I know people from Europe would go there, Botswana, literally like people from outside the continent and country would send their kids there. So it was a really good school, but obviously I can't afford it. Like, how am I gonna get in there? So there's obviously your entrance exam and all of that and all of that. And even though my mom was paying for it, a lot of the times I found that it was just hard work, hard work, hard work. You know, like I'm in the chapel choir, I'm in the chamber choir, I'm in the touring choir, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, like all of that stuff. So all of that stuff really helped. So having said that, I feel I'm happy teaching because I like to see people learn and grow, because I've been privileged enough to have people pass on useful information to me. But at the same time, I'm like, we're not there yet. As a person, no, it's still lacking.
In
It's
what
very
in what
lacking.
way? What way do you mean?
So it's, I don't know if it's like someone has said that before, like, okay, have you ever heard of black tax?
Yes.
Yes. So I think black tax is actually the real problem, because
So
it's not.
can we just for someone who doesn't, because I also want this to be
Yeah,
educational for everyone who's listening, and sorry to stop you. Once again, correct me if I'm wrong. Black tax is if there's individual in the family that was lucky enough to be educated and that's got a good paying job, then they would take quite a big portion of their salary and send it home for the rest of the family
yeah,
to be able to use. So one person's salary is divided, and quite a lot of people often. That's right, yeah?
yeah, yes, that's very accurate. So you're not literally earning money for yourself or
Mm.
anything. You're kind of making money to make sure that your family has food, your family, the people that have clothes, they can get to school, that type of
That's a
thing.
big
Um,
responsibility if you're the person. You're lucky.
it's huge. It's a big responsibility.
It must be, that's probably a whole conversation on its own, because it's
Yeah,
like
it's
you're
horrible.
lucky because you were blessed to have the opportunities, but people probably expect of you to give them things or
Yes.
not, or I don't know. It's an
And
interesting.
some people exploit you. And the thing is, then you find sometimes that there is no progress, because I know a lovely gentleman who's Afrikaans, and he has, I think, 4 daughters, and he basically saved up for their tuition so they can go to university. That is covered. um, they can get apartments. That's covered. They can afford school books. That's covered. They can get cars. That's covered. So in that situation, you are like set. If you do not accomplish anything, it's literally just because, I don't want to say you chose to, but it's either you chose to just let it go away, or there obviously might be like some mental issues, which is another topic on its own. But a lot of the times with Black people, you're finding that, and this is like your middle income downwards, you're finding that the one person gets a job, even if they work at Pick and Pay, literally, it doesn't matter what you do. If you have a job, you have a responsibility. If your sibling has kids, they are your kids. If your cousin has kids, they are your kids. Um, Everyone needs to eat. Everybody needs clothing. So instead of you progressing by yourself, because if my friend that I was referring to as 4 daughters was my father, I feel like I would be far in life, because I would have been set already. I could afford my education. I'd have a car. So when I start working, I wouldn't have debt to pay. I wouldn't have debt maybe for student loans, let's say. I wouldn't have debts because I'm like trying to buy a car, or I'm trying to buy a place now to stay. Like I'm trying to make ends meet. It's literally like I am set. Here it is. So it's like that parable in the Bible where there were, I think, 5 workers, and they all got so much, and it's kind of like how you invested that money and the profits you made from it. So with Black people, it's still not like that. Like, you do not progress for yourself. It's for your family, it's for your relatives. Like, it's not your come up, it's not about you. It's great that you're making money, but now listen, this person has so many kids, your mom needs this, that person needs that. Maybe you don't even live in a proper house. Maybe you live in a house that's called Uforum, which is your normal house in the township. I mean, people have renovated now, but it's literally a 2-bedroom house. You might have 8 siblings and your mom and your dad. So it's like maybe all the girls stay in the room, the guys sleep in the lounge, and the one room is for the parents. So the eldest child, when they start working, they might have student loans to pay off, but at the same time, they need to extend and renovate this house so that people can have a place to sleep. But they're still buying food every month. But they're still helping, let's say, with medical supplies. So it's just your Black tax is a problem.
So your feeling, I've got so many, it's such an education this to me, but and I'm so grateful. But I really am. I think this is probably the most important, they're all special, but this is a very important podcast. So just quickly to park on Black tax, what is your feeling about it? Do you as Nana, and is it
Yeah.
you okay with calling you Nana? I can say the full name
No,
as
you can say Nana. You can say Nana.
Is it just, it's a reality that you are accepting, or is it something that you should be fought and should be stopped, or what is your feeling towards Black tax?
Okay, so I'm 100% for helping other people. So from that aspect, I don't disagree with it. I don't believe that you can have a family of people where it's so divided, the rich is just getting richer and the poor is just getting poorer. Like, you can't let your cousin go to bed without food. You can't let your neighbor go to bed without food. In that sense, I am 100% for it, because we don't live in isolation, and you can't progress by yourself and watch people suffer. But that's just across everything. That's how I feel across everything. But I really dislike it in the sense that, to me, it feels like a setup. It's like a trap. It's kind of like it's like a rat chase. Is that what it's called? It's kind of like you never really get out of it, because by the time you're done helping, let's say, all your siblings go to school, how old are you? You've still got debts because you're only paying it off slowly. And let's say they too now feel that burden. So it's like a...
Yes, it's a double-edged sword. So it's like I understand it's such a catch-22, because but what would you say? And I don't want to say Black, I'm going to say Zulu now. But you can speak if you have knowledge about how Xhosa or Tswana or Venda or Pedi people feel about it. You're more than welcome to. If you're saying Black tax, I'm assuming it's Black more than just one tribe. But also, what is the conversation going on in, like, earlier I looked at different newspapers that are in KwaZulu-Natal, and also what's the local newspapers in KwaZulu-Natal specifically, and things like, what is there a conversation going on amongst, let's say, Black or Zulu people about Black tax and what it should be, and if it should change, or if it can change, or there isn't just simply enough jobs, or what is the conversation at the moment? Or was it all different? Depends who you ask.
I think it depends who you ask. Your kind of Model C middle income child is kind of like, this is a burden or a brunt that's just too heavy for me to bear, because I think they actually realize more what it does. But I feel like your lower income is kind of like izandla ziyagezana, which means the hands wash each other. So this hand can't wash itself and this hand can't wash itself. So there's a proverb that says that, the hands wash each other. So I think some people are kind of like, well, it's the only way we can proceed based on, the dealings of the cards. And some people are like, actually, this is wrong, and it's not my responsibility to make sure that, let's say, 10 or 8 or 5 other human beings are fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's not fair. I've worked hard, and I kind of deserve to kind of reap what I've sown, or enjoy the fruits of my labor. But you can't really, because they're not just yours now. It's for everybody. And it's kind of like an unspoken thing. Like, let's say if I was to earn 50,000 Rand, I think it's like embedded in our minds. If I was to earn 50,000 Rand every month, or let's say I have 20 million, I know for a fact that out of that money, I would not spend more than 20% of it on myself or on what I need.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. And like, I'm well aware. Like, I'm so conscious of it, but it's just what it is. Because I'm like, my mother needs to live in a better house. And it's not even like a shallow thing. It's like, there are necessities that you probably don't have that you should have. So let's say, my mom has a spine problem. My mom can't sleep on a normal bed. All her beds are like special orthopedic beds. So if she couldn't afford one, and if I started making money, I know for a fact that's the first thing I would do. Buy her a proper bed, renovate her house so that it's conducive for her and it can work for her.
Sorry, I just want to ask you there, because I'm also learning as we go along. Is it because number one, you love her? Is it because you love her and that's what you want to do? Or is it that's what is expected and you'd be judged if you don't do it? Or is it both?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
It's definitely both. And people definitely judge you. Like, I know with a lot of Zulu people, like, there's some people who are like actors. I'll say actors. And on like your soapies on like SABC1 and all of that stuff. And like, you'll hear someone, let's say you're taking a taxi, you'll hear someone say, oh, I know so-and-so. Her mother lives by my house and she hasn't even bothered to fix her mother's house for her. Her mom is still taking public transport. Her mom is still working, and yet she makes so much money. Her mom is still this. Oh, and she didn't even think about her siblings. She doesn't even help out. She doesn't even bring them groceries. So you hear, like, I hear it all the time. And
so
it's
tough.
like, and like, there's a thin line between love and self-sacrifice.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's always,
oh gosh. No, it's so complex. It's so complex. We're gonna have to in this conversation just now. We're gonna talk. We have to have a quick 2-minute brainstorm about how we're gonna improve the world. Because I'm not joking. I feel like you should. I know you're not into politics, and I know you work in a corporate environment, but I feel like you deserve. And maybe you've got friends who are as wise as you are, but I feel like you deserve a platform. And it's such a black tax, I suppose, and I'm no one to speak, but it's such a tricky situation, because it's like not because of the people, but because of the environment, you can't win.
You can't. Like, you literally can't.
What needs to happen? What needs to happen to win? Or isn't there a way? There needs to be more jobs, lots of more jobs, and more education. What do you think?
No, it's not jobs. So I know everyone's always like, oh, we need more jobs, It's a problem when you have the job, but you don't know what to do with it, right? And like I did a little bit of like reading just on like countries that had like really, really traumatic and bad things happen to them and their economy crashed. And I was like, how did they like
Come back.
make it? The first problem is that we are not investing enough in education. And it's not just like a financial thing. Like we need the right people in education.
Mm.
And okay, so this in no way, like this is in no way disrespectful to anyone who's taken this route, because it's probably the only route they could take. But like, let's say, you know, UNISA,
Yes.
the University of South Africa. So in my mind, I don't understand why UNISA has a Department of Education type of facility where you can become a teacher. Because UNISA is strictly correspondence. So how can you actively pass on information when no one did the same for you?
Yes.
It doesn't make sense. So we need the right type of ministers for education. We need the right teachers for education. Like proper. We need the right amount of money. We need to stop looking also at countries like America and thinking, oh, because they are first world, we're gonna adopt their ways of teaching. They don't work here. They don't work here. This whole thing of saying it's HSS or EMS, or I'm like, what is that? Like geography needs to be geography. Mathematics needs to be mathematics. Like, unless education is correct, we're not going to win this one. Also, I feel like this is just a side note. It has nothing to do with this, but there's nothing that upsets me more than the child grant. You know that amount of money people get paid to have kids, not to have kids, but because they have kids? That for me is ridiculous. You cannot be doing that. Like, what are you condoning? The people that usually receive this grant are people from low income environments. Fine, all kids are a blessing. We get that because that's what people say, but that's a philosophical point of view. At the end of the day, a child needs money. You can't just have a child and be like, oh, it's a blessing. Really, no. Kids need both parents. It doesn't matter what type of parents, but you always need ideas bouncing off the parents to make sure that the child is well-rounded. So you cannot have a 24-year-old with 5 kids collecting grant, because like this is how I perceive it. If you come from a low income environment, you are 25, you have children, you are not married. And I'm not saying this because I'm an advocate for marriage. It's not really the religious part of marriage that I'm condoning. It's more of the understanding of what bringing a human being is and how you structure and nurture that. So if you are not married, you're at that age, you're just having kids, chances are those kids were a mistake. Like you didn't plan, like you didn't go through family planning and be like, oh, I want to have 4 kids by the age of 25 by myself with no one to help me, can't afford it. And then the government comes and he's like, oh, you can have 300 Rand. Like, what does 300 Rand do? You cannot raise a child on 300 Rand. But having said that, the amount of money invested in giving that type of person that amount of money is ridiculous. Like, that should not be happening. Old people grant, 100%. They need help. They cannot work. If you're having child on your own accord, due to irresponsibility or whatever the case may be, you do not deserve that money. That money should be going towards somebody who is trying to better themselves, who is trying to go to school but cannot afford it. That's the person who deserves that money. But guess what? The government doesn't care about that. The government wants to give the person money who's had the child, and the person who wants to study, not their problem. And I personally have a problem with that. It's like people who go to jail.
Why do they do that, do you think?
I think it's a setup. The rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer, but also sometimes you need ways to squander money.
So you think they keep on giving the grants so that the poor will keep voting for them to keep getting their grants?
Yeah, I think so, 100%. Because if you are someone that understands what actually this, like, you cannot just give somebody something for free. People need to earn stuff. And South Africans have a culture of like demanding, feeling like they're entitled, wanting things for free, which is so wrong. That should never happen. It's like the free housing thing. I disagree with that completely. I just see it as a vessel to squander money.
But
Literally, I do.
squander, what does squander mean again? Like to
Squander is like to smuggle. So
yeah,
it's like,
that's right.
yeah,
So
that's
yes,
how I see it. Because who are you giving free housing to? Like, I'm trying to understand where all these people came from. Okay, so I'm going to speak Black people, rural areas, move to townships, obviously closer to the cities so they can work. Now, the person that is living in a informal settlement, where did you come from? And not to say there aren't situations where people do really find themselves homeless, but everybody comes from somewhere. And like, this thing is such a bad idea. And that's why you find that people are selling these RDP houses illegally because they hold no value to it, because the person that's getting it probably doesn't need it. And they'll go and they'll sell it to Nana, who can't get a housing loan or who can't obviously afford a proper house. They'll come to me, yes, I am making some money, but I mean, if I go to the bank and I'm like, can I get a home loan? I'm not going to qualify. So then they're selling it to people like me. So I'm like, that RTP free stuff, that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. Nobody deserves a free house. No one deserves free anything except education. So we keep, as a country,
mm.
giving people these free things. We are instilling bad values in people where people are feeling entitled. And I know this is a stretch, but it's so easy for me to break into your house and take something that belongs to you because I want it. It's kind of that concept of, I want a house, so the government should give me a house. But no, 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 no. That's not how the world works. Just people should know you work hard for something and then you get it. You don't just get things. And that's why people don't understand, and their values are completely off, because we've been told so many times, oh, free housing this. Oh, when you have a child, you're going to get free money. It's so warped. The things that are actually of value, no one is giving for free. Like education is of value. Hospitals and medical facilities are of value. So those things should have been a priority on our list from the get-go. Education, medical supplies, the rest, no, that is not needed.
So do you think this is I love this conversation. So do you think, not that I'm a demand, not that I'm expecting you to solve South Africa's or the government's problems within a second, but if child grants, social grants, if these things stop and they channel those money, or they take that money and direct it towards education, and my first question is, would that come from appointing brave ministers? And the other thing is, what do you think will happen? Will people die of hunger because they can't feed their children? And do you think that is right or wrong? Or do you think the people get education and then we'll figure things out?
I don't think they would die, because the person that's receiving the grant money is not actually using the grant money for the child. I've seen it
Oh, wow.
plenty. That's where your hairstyles come from. That's where your mink lashes come from. That's people buying 12 or 48 packs of alcohol. That's where that comes from. That's where people are buying new clothes with that money. And half the time, the child is actually surviving off the grandparents' grant money.
Wow.
Literally.
So,
No joke. People are getting their nails done.
excuse me?
People are getting their nails done with that money.
So you think they won't die? You think, and they meaning people who live from of grants. So what do you think? What do you think if you? This is a very ridiculous question, but just take it as a token of me admiring your wisdom, and what do you think if you were given the platform? Of course, what do you think? Do you think our ministers? It's so I don't even know. It's the system. It's so difficult. Like, what would you do if you were Cyril Ramaphosa? If you, not maybe that's unfair question, but I mean, like, do you think that he should be brave and radical and do this thing um, and risk not getting a lot of voters again, and then see where that takes us?
I think so. And I think with regards to like projects like your RDP housing, your grant, it's not necessarily the people that would be up in arms because they know they don't deserve the money. They know they don't deserve the housing. Yes, they know that they haven't worked for it. Excuse me, they know that they are using it inappropriately. They are well aware.
And the people that are uneducated people too, they're not in denial about that. They're just like, oh, well, we're going to use it and abuse it as long as we can because it's there.
Yes. It's definitely that they are not, because there's something that human is born with. Like, you can't trick that. Like, you can't, you know right from wrong. And if I give you money and I'm like, this is for your puppy, and you take it and you drink beer, it doesn't matter how warped your mindset is. You know that's wrong. Like, you know. So I don't think so much the problem is with the man receiving the money, like physically. I think the problem is the person up at the top who has the tender for the SASSA cards or the grant money or whatever it is. Because there's somebody that's receiving all of this and channeling it. It's that person that's a problem. Same thing with the RDP houses. There's somebody who is in charge of all those tendering processes. So it's those people that are coining it. It's really not even that guy, that small guy. So if I was the president and if I shut this whole system down, it not necessarily maybe that person that may be angry. It would be that person who is actually heading all of these things, who is perhaps receiving 2 million rand a month off profit, maybe from having ghost kids that are supposedly receiving this money. Also, the person who's supposed to build 500,000 houses, but they're only really doing 100,000, but there's nobody that's going to say anything. So it's the top dogs that would be up in arms.
Do you think, and I know in a previous, if this podcast escalates, if my partner's little podcast dreams become, or big podcast dreams become a reality, and this podcast somehow escalates, and next thing people think it's very important, and Cyril Ramaphosa listens to it and he wants to either congratulate us or sue us or whatever, like so like whatever. I know in previous times we've spoken and you were like, we've spoken very respectfully of him, do you have faith, or do you think he is on the right track, or we are on the right track, or do you think there might be change, or do you have hope for this country?
I do have hope for this country.
Oh, but let's speak. I hope a lot of things, right? But it's not often based in realism. It's like, oh, I hope I'm going to whatever spring. I hope we're all going to. And then it's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
so realistic. Let's speak realistically optimistic.
So I am hopeful. I'm very hopeful. Having said that, we are only making improvements like at a very, very, very small and slow pace. And the reason for that is that our country is actually filled with so much chaos and we have so many issues that like there's too much noise in the system. That's actually what's going on. There's too much noise in the system, and our president has unfortunately been like dumped in a swamp. And he's aware, but it's kind of like he has to deal with.
He has to start somewhere.
He has to start somewhere, and it's kind of like he's just had problems. This guy has just had problems from the moment he stepped in. You know, it's just like, and it's like big things also. And to be honest, things like grant money, especially during this type of time, that can't be at the top of his list. This should have been someone else's priority when we didn't have this type of, you know, pandemic.
So what it comes down to, so does it make sense if I say, sorry to interrupt you, but people make choices, and because people make certain choices, systems develop, and then systems are inherited, and systems are messy, and then systems are complex and messy, and then even if people are good individuals, let's say, I don't know what other people say, I've known people, and I know he's just one individual, but let's say Cyril Ramaphosa is a fantastic president and he's brilliant and whatever. He comes into, this is just, we're just speaking of one example now. We know there's millions of examples with millions of people, good people, different people, whatever, all kinds. He's inherited such a complex system that it's I don't know, I don't know, what do you think you and I can do, Nana?
I don't know, hey?
My dad asked me a similar question recently, and I told him he should start doing Zulu lessons. You should check if he can start doing Zulu lessons with you. But I do think communicate. But I don't think I'm not naive enough to think that if we all speak the same language, it's going to solve every political and economic thing overnight. But I do think that's something that is a 1 millimeter step in a good direction of being able to communicate respectfully and acknowledging each other. Because speaking of which, and just maybe to come back, and sorry, this has been so fascinating. I didn't realize it's already almost 2 hours, and I'm gonna almost end this because this has been like more than I could ever have thought or imagined it would be. But thank you so much. You're so wise, so generous. There's so many things there's so many questions I wanted to go back to, but I almost want to it's become bigger than I thought this was going to be, because it's become more real and more personal and more honest and more local than I thought. Like I thought, oh, Black Lives Matter, and maybe we can touch on that. But let's just go for what do you think we can do? Is there something that you think someone that's listening to this can do? That I don't know, whether you Zulu or Afrikaans or whatever, is there anything you can do other than try and respect other human beings? Because I think that's definitely a good departure point for other things to flow out from.
Yes, 100%. Respect, educating yourself. But then that's another problem, because then when you're educated, you have to deal with the ignorant, and it's just a cycle. It's such a cycle. I don't know, hey. I really don't know. I feel like it's small things. I think it's small things. I think the people that we have around us, we need to make sure that they have an understanding of a human, an understanding of their community and the world in a, I don't want to say non-biased way, but they need to understand the world for what it actually is. Then we need to instill the right values in people. The fact that education is important, and it doesn't matter where you go. Because I know at some point in this country we hadn't we had a thing about sugar daddies, and that's just because people are so poor. But like, people need to understand that education will always be important. People need to understand, and I think this is a problem because our country is actually, we live, South Africa is a child, it's a baby. um, and I know with a lot of our parents, or let's say grandparents, issues like sex, they don't really want to discuss. So you will find people with unplanned pregnancies, and then they have to keep the child, and then the father's not there, and then it belongs to the girl and her side of the family, and then she's shamed, and then so that whole type of thing. I feel like we need to just get into a culture of speaking. We
Mm,
need to communicate more. We
mm,
need to let our kids know about all these things, because at the end of the day, when I have a girl child, she is not having pregnant. She's not having a baby by herself. She's not going to be pregnant by herself,
mm,
married or unmarried. She needs to know what happens. And if I, as a parent, cannot afford her safety measures so that those type of things don't happen, she needs to know that if you take this step, this is what happens. So
mm.
I feel like the parents need to have those talks. The parents need to stop spoiling the kids also, because there's a difference between giving your child everything that it needs and spoiling it. Because we come from a culture where people were oppressed, they didn't have much. Now everybody can have stuff. They have these kids, they give them all these gadgets, they do all these things. The kids' values are messed up. So we need to instill right values, education, and I think eventually we will get there. But the problem is we have about 3 generations that kind of need like help themselves.
So maybe not in our lifetimes. We might not see in our lifetimes, but we can at least try. I love the fact you say communication, you speak to each other and respect people. And for me, that's a big thing. But that's maybe my upbringing was like, for me, it's like, I don't like it when people dehumanize or humiliate anyone, you know?
Yeah,
I've,
not
when,
nice.
it's not nice. When I was younger, when I was still insecure and lots of insecurities and things, I would maybe humiliate someone and I felt so bad afterwards. It's such a horrible thing. And it wasn't
Mm,
necessarily big on that, but I mean, like, if you humiliate someone or if someone humiliates you, it's so dehumanizing. And I think acknowledging each other as human beings and respecting each other and communicating is one thing. It's not going to solve everything, but
but
but it's definitely a start. And
yeah.
yo, no, I don't even. I'm like, I really am. But this is important for start, and that's why I'm glad because I can speak to another. I'm going to speak to lots more people probably on this podcast, and it's great. But if we don't speak to people that were brought up differently than we are, we're just going to hear more of the same or more
Yes,
more versions of the same thing. And it's
of
just,
course.
so this is very, very, I'm very happy about this, very grateful. And maybe and then I'm going to really, because I respect your time, I'm really going to say thank you and goodbye that you can actually like do your thing. I'm sorry, has this timing completely
No,
messed up your evening?
it's been a pleasure. No, it hasn't. It hasn't.
Okay, I'm so glad because I'm
Thank you
so
very
grateful, and I think you are I think you are living up to. It's very interesting for me to see often how amazing it is that people often like with a Zulu name, then you find out what the name means, and then often there's some truth in that you can see they've lived up to their name. Somebody's name would be like Jabulani, and they'd have the biggest smile. Not always, but because Jabulani is like bring happiness or happiness, and you are such a strong individual. There's something. I can see the warrior in you. I can see the courage in you. The one thing that your name doesn't have that I want to like put on, but it doesn't need that because that's what you've got in you already. You don't need to be called that. But like I think you've got tremendous kindness and compassion. um, but that's in
much.
you. and yes, and but the all the strength and that you like almost like inspir- inspirationally and fiercely righteous, not self-righteous, like what is fair, and like I can see you will like people shouldn't mess with what you love or what you think is right because
No,
you feel strongly about it. They mustn't mess with your mom or the people you love
no,
or with your dog
no.
Jaguar.
Does not end well. It does not end well.
I can see it does not. Let's just, as
No.
a final thing, Anna, this was supposed to be like, do you know what's amazing? And that's what I love about connecting with people and communicating. Is I thought we were going to talk about Black Lives Matter all night. We haven't even talked. It's the end of the podcast and we haven't even mentioned it. But that, you know what is good about that? That means that we thought we chose a topic. We chose a topic, or I selected a topic that I think was going, and then we actually started really talking. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
So
100%.
so actually that's really good. But just as a very quick thing, I don't know if it is a quick thing, it's probably not. Is it as a Zulu person, do you connect with that sentiment? Do you think it's just the American thing? Because obviously I'm watched the as if you I can be a naive Afrikaans person, be like, I just watched the Michael Jordan documentary. I'm pro-black, and it's like, listen, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. There's so many different tribes, so many different blah blah blah, so many different blah blah blah.
Yeah,
What. But I think just
yeah.
from a personal, curious point of view, my first thing is, did you like growing up, and also now, do you, as a Zulu person, do you admire or like? Let's say I've got heroes, but I've got heroes, or not people I look up to, but some of them are white, some of them are black, some of them are like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson is like Hawaiian, mixed
Yeah.
races, Hawaiian, whatever. I think Michael Jordan's an awesome sportsman. Do you have is it like mostly a certain tribe people you look up to? Is it more like human qualities? And then to connect to that,
Mm,
do you think Black Lives Matter is it like a more American thing like that feels distance, or would you and your friends talk about it and you think it's important? And do you feel positively about it? That's
um,
like 10 questions in one last final.
One. Okay, so speaking about role models and people I look up to, um, a lot of mine they're scattered. I'm trying to think about race groups now. Scattered, all race groups,
Okay. Yes.
male and female. Like I think Quincy Jones is the legend,
Yes.
but he's a male and he's not South African, etc. So they're everywhere. I'm more of what you've accomplished or what you have overcome, and what you have mastered. And it's usually I'm looking at like musical people, you know.
Are you a fan of Tracy Chapman?
Oh, I think she's amazing.
Tracy Chapman is incredible. Tracy Chapman, I watched a live show the other day on YouTube, just a live singing. That woman's powerful.
I think she's amazing. And the weird thing, I don't know if this is me having been a music student, she's very interesting, like very complex. So you get people that sing well, people that like they have beautiful voices, they are soothing or whatever. And then you get your Tracy Chapman. She doesn't particularly have a wonderful voice. That's the thing. She sounds like she's been drinking whiskey and smoking cigars for years. Not even cigarettes, cigars, like straight to the chest.
Yes.
But she's just musically so inclined.
Yeah.
Like I can't explain it. It's like Macy Gray. The texture of the voice isn't necessarily pleasing, but the musicology is. So it's that type of thing.
It's like, sorry, yes?
No, I was just saying she's good. She's good.
But it's almost like you can feel the story in their voice.
Yes, you can. You can.
And that's rich. It's like you can hear the pain and the dreams.
Yes, at the same time. And at the end of the day, like with things like music and stuff, it's not really about like who is the best. Because
No.
I've heard people with amazing voices who have gotten nowhere. but it's about the story and how you relate to the music and how the people can
No, no.
understand and receive your music.
And
Woo!
relate to you and feel
Yeah.
connected and feel like they belong and they've got a place and they. Do you still sing? Do
From
you
time
sing?
to
Is
time.
was singing one of your things, like singing specifically
Yeah.
inspiring to your voices? No, no. We got
Singing
to
specific- that's how I got to how it like
no, no.
school music. It was the voice, and then obviously they teach you like keyboard and guitar, like you learn
No, no.
instruments to accompany you.
You've got to make you world famous. You've got such an important voice.
Very difficult. It's very difficult. I'm not conventional. Like I'm not going to be naked.
No, that's
I don't.
but
It's like
but
I'm not what sells, if I can put it
no,
that way.
but hear this. I'm not a music buyer. I mean, not a music buyer. What I mean is, I'm not a commercial. I don't work in the music business, so I can't say this with confidence. But what I can say is that I don't think commercialism sells anymore. I think authenticity sells now. There's a white American girl called Billie Eilish. She's got green
Oh,
hair.
it's amazing.
How is
Have
she?
you seen videos?
Sorry,
Have you seen her music videos?
I haven't actually.
She is mind-boggling. She is so bizarre, but it's so lovely.
So, what you just said is she is so bizarre. It's mind-boggling. You just said you are bizarre. People not going to relate. People relate to authenticity. You can just hear me out for 1 second. And for 1 second is the best people, often the best singers, often like it's almost like the most good-looking people, the models, whatever. There's almost like that. It's almost so perfect. It's not relatable. People connect with
Yes.
truth, with authenticity. People want to hear Nana that doesn't want to get naked, that is still also Zulu, that is super educated, that is so intelligent, that also has the back of humanity and Zulu people and people whatever, that is still but is true to her. They don't want I don't want to listen to you if you are like, yeah, but I'm not Zulu anymore, I'm now commercial. I want to the commercialness comes from, oh shit, she's the real deal, she is bizarrely uniquely authentic, whatever. I'm serious now. I think this podcast, I'm going to open up my mind. I do have friends actually that are in the music business and are quite
Have a
successful in the music business, but that's Afrikaans, but they might not people. But this can be a slow thing. By the way, you're not going to believe this, but a friend of mine, this is for a different conversation, but a friend of
yeah.
mine and myself want to start. We've got this amazing initiative and I still want to speak to you. We'd love to approach you and have you on board and make you like and be like the three of us. I promise you, the three of us be maybe in a team company thing together. But that's for a different day. I'm gonna speak to
Oh, that
you about
sounds
that.
awesome.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be like
Okay.
powerful and from the heart and Uno Musa, all that. But I think we should. I think your voice is so powerful that, and I mean that in terms of what you stand for and what you feel. And don't go for. I'm not saying go and start singing now. Turn on the radio and start just singing songs. I'm genuinely like forget this whole podcast thing, like or whatever. Just like all seed I can plant, and that I want to
Yeah.
finish now with maybe with is that I come from I'm so grateful for my parents. I've got very amazing people in my family, very kind,
Oh,
good
yeah.
people.
But so are you. That's the thing.
Thank you. And I was also given that. Thank you. I wasn't always like this in my life. I went through insecurities where I were not so nice to everyone, whatever. So I've grown a lot, I think, But I have enjoyed and received a certain amount of privileges and advantages in life, which I'm very grateful for. But you know what the interesting thing is?
I'm glad you are.
Thank you. But the interesting thing is, maybe if I was given less, maybe if I was given less, I'm not saying I don't appreciate what I have, but
Yes.
what I do say is like, some people who don't have a lot might look at me and go, yes, sir, look what that guy got. And all he's doing, he got a free car or whatever. He did this and whatever from his dad and whatever. And he's still just, he's enjoying eating out at restaurants and whatever. Like, what has he really accomplished or given back? And maybe if I had less, I would have been hungrier to do more, to give more. Maybe if I was just a better person, I would have made more of what I've been given. Because I have to say, my parents have given me amazing. They've been so generous and kind. But what I want to say is that, like, I'm not saying it's good that you are where you are. I'm not saying black tax is good and whatever. I can't speak on behalf of any of that. What I can say is the seed that I want to plant is that for me, the truth is inspiring. So it's almost like, and I hope the world is going that way, that like people's story, I don't know. I'm actually lost for words, but because I feel like this podcast is literally just, if someone listens to it, it's looking like through a door hole into a new world that people didn't know exist, but at least it's a door hole.
Yes,
at least it's not a closed door. The fact that we're communicating is important. The fact that we're talking is important. I think it's so cool. And then because of this, we can not have to talk about it all the time, but we have to start somewhere. And maybe we should never get to Black Lives Matter. Just tell me in a nutshell, do you feel positive or negative about it?
100% positive about it. I feel like it affects everybody.
And it's true. And it's bullshit. I know this all lives matter thing. It's like, yes, we all know all lives matter, but that doesn't mean the best thing is like on Cancer Day, you don't go, yeah, but what about Ebola? You know?
Exactly.
It's like, there's been a cancer problem. We need to talk about cancer. It's that we're not negating, we're not depreciating anything else, but give this thing its moment.
Yes, that's the thing. And it's like, I think somebody said something like, excuse me, if you have two friends and the one breaks their leg, you're not going to go to the other one and be like, oh, is your leg okay?
Exactly.
You know, it's like the other friend is fine. You need to deal with this friend currently. So I'm like, yes, all lives matter, but that's not the point right now. And the thing is, if all lives mattered, no one would need to say Black Lives Matter.
Exactly.
So,
and just from a final thing is, I'm like, I wish time wasn't a thing in this life, because I'm so. But we're gonna. No, but I just want to. But I just. Sorry.
You wish it wasn't a constraint.
I wish it wasn't, because I'm I've got such an appetite for knowledge and learning, and it's for me really exciting because it feels like my eyes are opening. And if there's an African American person, this is maybe a very personal question, speaking up for Black Lives Matter, do you feel a connection to that person because of the fact that you share a sort of skin color, or maybe because of the fact that they have shared a similar disadvantage in terms of societal history and stuff globally? Or is there no connection, that you just like, no, you're a different person on a different continent? What are you talking about? Don't talk about Black Lives Matter.
I feel like there's definitely a connection in both situations. I think definitely the fact that they are Black and I'm Black, and it's because I know what it's like, if I can put it that way, as a Black person. So the way that they have been oppressed might not be the same, but I get it. And to be honest, I think, yes, because it is Black people, I get it because I'm Black. But even if it was, let's say, an Indian person, I might still get it, because I feel like everybody can relate to it. If you have been oppressed you will get it. Some more than others, and some obviously like just keep quiet and don't, say it. But I feel like you can take that little bit of oppression that you might have experienced in any circumstance and just amplify it, and you can relate. So
100%.
yes, I relate because I'm Black. Yes, I relate because I've been through it. But even if you are white, you are Indian, Chinese, colored, you too can actually relate because everybody has been oppressed.
You know
Different
what?
magnitude, but yes.
And that's the reason I just want to bring actually myself in for a second. That's the reason why I think lots of Afrikaans, call it, or English South African people, or whoever, also have this big thing about like this awareness about the Black Lives Matter, whether they are not Black, but
Exactly.
they relate to the suffering of humanity. And
Exactly.
we all have suffered in some way or another, and oppression is forced suffering. That's even worse
Exactly.
than other suffering. So it's like
Exactly.
I've suffered. Like one of my best friends, and I promise you I'm going to end now, but one of my best friends said once, because Annika, you've met Annika, and I can see you guys also like, you guys have an open, guys look at each other with openness, you see. And Annika comes from an amazing, loving family, but it wasn't like she grew up as a billionaire. You know what I mean? So I think she also grew up facing some. But also in herself, she's a deep feeling person, very intelligent, deep feeling. Also, I'm very sensitive. She's also a deep feeling person. And this friend of mine, I said, like, sometimes she amazes me because she's very kind and compassionate. And he said, maybe it's because she's suffered more. And this is something I want to leave there, just hanging for whoever's listening, is in my learnings, and this is and I know I don't mean this in a racist way, I mean this in a human observationist way. In my personal opinion, through learning Zulu, I've connected with people that obviously come from maybe families that were oppressed in a financial way and things in the past. And I've made some of my purest moments of connection I've ever had in my life. And I think it's because I've met the soul. I speak to the spirit. It's not the ego. The ego gets decorated with privileges and all kinds. And I'm not saying it's good because Black lives are all more pure and because they've suffered and it's better and that's the good that they've suffered. But it's just like
I get what you're saying.
I feel like there's a storm, not a storm. I feel like there's a wave of love and righteousness and globally, in parentheses, Black people are going to be leading it, and it's going to smash the world. It's going to flow and splash and froth, and it's going to take a long time, and we're part of the start of it, and it's going to be big. And of course, there's going to be individuals that are going to be hating from both sides, white, black, colored, Indian, whatever. It's going to be there. It's going to be, but the laws of the universe are going to figure themselves out. It feels like things are coming. You know what I mean?
It needs to work out. It needs to work out for the good of everybody.
No. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having
You
me.
are a philosophical soul, a wise soul. And I'm going to speak to you about the other company thing. And the other thing is,
yes,
you must sing, and you must just be, not you must, but I think start singing again in your free time, and everything about it. Don't think commercial. Think you. Make it as honest as possible. I want to speak to my, let's make it massive. We need Nana Giyose. Nana Giyose is going to win a freaking, Billie Eilish and Michael Jordan together are going to stand on the stage, and they're going to go, and Tracy Chapman are going to go, Nana Giyose, thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And tell your mom thank you that I could borrow so much of your time. And all
Not
the
a
very best,
problem.
and we'll speak soon. Thank you so, so, so much, Nana.
Ya mga putuami.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.